Good morning, or whenever it is that you're joining us for this Tuesday devotion. Took a week or two off from our study on one chapter of books of the Bible, but we're back at it. And so today we're talking about the book of Philemon. And so Philemon, just looking, Bible Project kind of describes it as a book of the gospel in action. So I think it's really great that we're picking up here after some of us are just coming back from a mission trip. And so Philemon is extremely short. Based on word count, there's only 430 words in this chapter. So you have no excuse after watching this video to not take the time to read this one because it's so short. And so the 2-second synopsis of this is Paul is writing a letter to Philemon begging him, saying, hey, you need to accept back your runaway slave. So, we don't practice it now and we don't condone it now, but back in, the ancient world, they had the practice of slaves. And so this guy Philemon was wealthy enough to own at least one slave. His slave, I'm going to butcher this, it looks like it's like Onesimus, escaped, became a believer, met Paul, and then Paul is saying, you got to go back to your owner and you two got to reconcile. And so the action in this passage, so there's 3 characters, like I said. We have Onesimus, we have Philemon himself, and then we have Paul. So as you read this very short chapter, the thing I want you to reflect on is which of these characters would you say you sync up with? Who do you relate to? So if you relate to Onesimus, it's like, who do you need to apologize to or make up with, or just put yourself out there as a believer? Who do you need to maybe confess to? Something like that. On the other side for Philemon, if you recognize with him, it might be like, who do you need to forgive? Who out there in your life do you need to say, hey, I'm a believer, this person's a believer, we need to reconcile, we need to make right? Or if you're Paul, it's who do you need to, I'm going to put encourage or call out. And it's weird, we don't necessarily like the concept of calling out, but sometimes as in a loving, caring way, as a believer, you can talk to other believers and say, hey, you're a Christian, this is a Christian, this is a way to act. So again, I encourage you, read this chapter with the very short chapter with these 3 characters and think like, hey, am I like Onesimus? Is there someone in my life or someone who I've wronged that I need to go back to and put myself out there as a believer? Or am I like Philemon? Is there someone who I need to forgive? Is there someone who I need to accept as a believer? Or again, am I like Paul? Is there someone who in my Christian circle that I need to encourage and need to say, hey, this is a great thing that you can do? Or in a nice, loving Christian way, is there somebody I need to call out and say, hey, you're a believer, you shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z? So again, I really encourage you guys. The book of Philemon, it's only 430 words, and it's all about putting the gospel in action. So it's a great kind of reminder of like, here's a very relevant book of the Bible where we're looking at, how you can take your faith and live it. And the way to live it in this one is following the actions set by the characters. So thanks for watching, and we will be back next week with another 1-chapter book of the Bible.